I'm Tass Mellis of The Starters.
This is Ben Golliver with the Open Floor Podcast.
Hi, I'm Kristen Ludlow from NBA Inside Stuff.
I'm OG Anunoby of the Toronto Raptors.
Hey, I'm Elena Donon, and welcome to the Double Clutch.
Double Clutch.
Double Clutch.
Double Clutch.
Double Clutch Podcast.
Paused. Hello and welcome to the Double Clutch podcast. I'm your usual host, Mike Miller, and joining me on this Bank Holiday Monday, we had a couple of technical issues already. Kirk, if you can flip it up onto the screen for the abating audience to see, it's Mr. Mike Tuck. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. For those who are tuning in from abroad, it is a spring bank holiday over here in the UK, and just like the Clippers, who inevitably disappoint year in, year out, this one, just like the British summer, has actually turned up on time, and then we've had an absolute scorcher of a day here. So are you suitably burnt, or have you managed to stay out of the sun a bit?
No, I'm a little pink today, but it's nice to catch some rare British sun here. So it's been a nice weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I have gone and got the classic, wore a basketball vest for a barbecue, very pink shoulders, pink neck, pink face, good old British barbecue costume ready to go. Okay, so for those who are not already following us, please do so at Double Clutch UK on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. There's a Discord channel, discord.me/doubleclutch, where you can come and chat hoops with us every day of the week, 24/7. And you can watch us live on Twitch at twitch.tv/doubleclutchuk or on YouTube. And for those who are tuned in and watching us live now, where we are still having a couple of technical difficulties, Mike appears to just have a screen at the minute, but I can see him. So that's all that matters. Kirk, can you fix that at all? But for those who are watching, thanks for coming out tonight. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that. So let's just have a quick catch up, Mike. It's been 2 weeks since you were last on the show, so a lot has happened in that time. How are your off-season plans going?
Off-season is going well. It's always nice to get some time off, but I've actually been selected for the training camp for Basketball England 3-on-3. Which starts up this week, actually tomorrow in Manchester. So I'll be heading over to Manchester for the week, involved in that whole training process. So super excited about that. And then just gearing up for next season.
Yeah, so obviously you were captain of the England Commonwealth team in 2018 on the Gold Coast. You're going to be part of this initial training camp for the 3-on-3 for Birmingham 2022, I want to say.
That's right, yeah, Birmingham 2022.
Since COVID's kicked in, I don't know what year it is. There's 12 of you going to be in this training squad. I think there's the potential to play in a Europe Cup qualifier in Romania next month. I say next month, tomorrow is the next month, so I don't know how long. The prospect of potentially representing England again abroad.
Yeah, I mean it's there's no better feeling than representing your country. So I'm super excited to be involved in it. 3-on-3 is a game that I played a lot as a kid. Every summer we used to play in the NBA Hoop It Up tournaments in Toronto, and so I love 3-on-3 basketball, and I think it's kind of catered to older guys anyways. It's like, it's not full court, a little bit less running, but it's a great game. It's a fast game, lots of shots, 12-second shot clock. You need to be able to defend different positions and be able to pick and pop and shoot and slip, and so all kind of things that kind of cater to my game. So I'm super excited just to be involved, and if I do make that final 4-man roster, they play in a tournament in Romania on the 27th. So everything would be gearing up towards that.
That's tight, a 4-man roster.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, three guys on the court with one sub and quick rotations, and But yeah, it's interesting to see. We'll see how this training camp goes. I've never had to train for 3-on-3. It's always been doing either individual skill work or 5-on-5 basketball. So 3-on-3 will be a lot different. Been watching a lot of the FIBA tournaments in the last couple of weeks to kind of just clue up on different sets that they run and different actions and what works and what doesn't work. So that's been really cool to kind of catch up on.
So you've mentioned how it sort of plays to your game. Is there any adaptations you've had to make?
Well, we'll see. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of learning curve stuff here in this week trial here, but it's a very physical game from what I'm seeing and from talking to a few people that have been involved in some tournaments. I've seen that the refs kind of let you play a little bit more, which is fine for me because I probably kind of play pretty physical anyways. For most of my career, I've been in foul trouble anyways. So. But yeah, and then it's just a lot of action is around the rim or behind the arc. You don't see too much mid-range game stuff. The basketball is a size smaller than the men's ball we play with. So we play with a size 7. The basketball is a size 6, but it weighs the same as a size 7. So I actually was able to get my hands on a basketball this week and was going and getting some shots up with it. It was super weird. The ball just, even though it's not heavier, it feels heavier. And shooting threes and stuff, you kind of have to change your shot a little bit because it's a different ball, completely different ball. It's got a different grip on it and everything. So that's been a learning curve for me this week.
Yeah, that sounds like a massive adjustment to make, like just given the sort of muscle memory that goes into being a shooter, and then to bring it in at this point in a career, that's a huge. I couldn't even get my head around that. I mean, I hated it when they switched from what were they used to be Badens and they switched them to Moltons, and that was enough for me. Not that I even played at anywhere near your level. So 3-on-3 obviously it seems to be the big thing now. I think it's Rittall College campus have just put out a massive purpose-built 3-on-3 court, the first one in the UK. Obviously, it's the first time it's going to be at the Commonwealth Games next year. Do you think there's an opportunity here for it to take off and help build the 5-on-5 sort of audience as well?
Yeah, I think that's it. I think they both they trickle into each other. They both play to each other. 3-on-3 has been building up probably over the last 5 years. It's really started to make a step up. We're seeing a lot more FIBA sanctioned tournaments, all around the world where, countries are entering teams, or even, independent people are just entering teams, and there's big prize pots to win and stuff like that. So the future of 3-on-3 looks bright. This year will be the first year that it's played in the Olympics, and I think that will, put a major spotlight on the sport there. And then, yeah, like we said, the first time in the Commonwealth Games. So it's exciting. I'm excited to be involved. I'm excited to see where it goes. And it's, just a fun game, man. Like if you haven't played 3-on-3, it's playground basketball type vibe. It's go down to your local outdoor court and just get out there and grind it out. So it's a great game.
Awesome. Well, best of luck with that. We're going to jump into some NBA action now. Kirk, do you want to roll a tape? Because Mike can kick his feet up, have a cup of tea, and we're going to go around the association. It's been a heck of a week in the NBA. On Monday night, the Bucks smashed the Heat 132-98 behind Giannis's 31-13-6 to take a 2-0 series lead. They also got 37 points from Drew Holiday and 28 from Chris Middleton, bouncing back from a dismal 16.1% from 3 in Game 1 to hit 41.5% from downtown. There's a heck of a lot of action to get through tonight, so I apologise in advance. The Nuggets also smacked the Blazers 128-109 to tie the series 1-1, with Jokic dropping 38, 8 and 5. The Blazers got a classic Dame performance as he put up 42, including 9 threes with 10 assists. Utah Jazz guard Jordan Clarkson was announced as the winner of the 6th Man of the Year award, finishing ahead of Jazz teammate Joe Ingles. New York's Derrick Rose finished 3rd. On Tuesday night, Brooklyn jumped out to a 130-108 win over the Celtics behind 26 points from KD, 25 from Joe Harris, and 20 from James Harden. No Celtic broke the 20-point mark. The Lakers tied their series with Phoenix 1-1 behind 34, 10, and 7 from AD. Chris Paul, clearly labouring, had 6 points and 5 assists with 3 turnovers, whilst being limited to just 22 minutes of action. The Mavericks took a commanding 2-0 lead on the road in LA as they beat the Clippers 127-121. Luka had 37, 7, and 7. Kawhi Leonard had 41, 6, and 4. In the aftermath, immediately people began writing off the Clippers and questioning the future of this team and their place in Los Angeles. I even heard rumours of moving the franchise to Seattle. Julius Randle, the first Knick in franchise history to average 20 points, 10 boards, and 5 assists in a season, was announced as the winner of the Most Improved Player Award. Detroit's Jeremy Grant and Denver's Michael Porter Jr. placed second and third, respectively. Wednesday night's action was overshadowed by fan incidents at all 3 games. The Sixers waxed the Wizards 120 to 105, with Ben Simmons putting up 22, 9, and 8 to take a 2-0 series lead. A fan, I use air quotes, was banned indefinitely for pouring popcorn over Russell Westbrook. The Knicks got their first playoff win in 8 seasons with a 101-92 victory over the Hawks, tying their series at 1-1. The Knicks fans handed out flyers with a chant on the night, "Trey is balding," which, as a man who is follicularly challenged, I took personally. Another fan was banned indefinitely for spitting on Hawks guard Trae Young as well, which is, I'm not sure of many ways that spitting on someone could become more disgusting, but during a global pandemic where viruses are transmitted by droplets, that's gross. Absolutely horrific. Can't quite get past that. The Utah Jazz tied their series with Memphis Grizzlies at 1 apiece with a 141-129 win as Donovan Mitchell returned to the court for the first time in 7 weeks. Grizzlies star Ja Morant dropped a franchise record 47 points. The feat meant he'd put up the most points in his first 2 playoff games since George Mikan in 1950. Sadly, Morant's parents were both subjected to racial and sexist abuse from 3 Utah fans, who the Jazz banned indefinitely. These incidents led the league to release a statement on fan behaviour. The return of more NBA fans to our arenas has brought great excitement and energy to the start of the playoffs, but it's critical that we show respect for our players, officials, and our fellow fans. An enhanced fan code of conduct will be vigorously enforced in order to ensure a safe and respectful environment for all involved. On Thursday night, the Bucks tightened their grip on their series, beating down the Heat 113-84 on Miami's home court. A team effort, 6 Bucks scored in double figures compared to just 3 from the Heat. The Lakers took a 2-1 lead over the Suns with a 109-95 dub. The AD versus DA battle of the bigs is becoming one of the great parts of the series. CP3's shoulder continued to hamper him, and media voices started pouring out one for the seemingly inevitable end of the Suns' Cinderella season. Denver squeezed out a 120-115 victory over the Blazers to take a 2-1 lead, as despite Jokic and Lillard going toe-to-toe with monster stat lines, it was Austin Rivers' threes in the fourth quarter that stole the headlines. Rivers, as a reminder, started the season as a Knick, was traded to the Thunder after 21 games, who immediately cut him on March the 28th, after almost a month without a team, and probably only because Jamal Murray was injured. Denver picked him up, and now he's become a key contributor for them. Friday the 28th of May saw people all around the league celebrate an iconic man's birthday. It was, of course, Jerry West, the logo, celebrating his 83rd, and we got another 3 games on the docket. The Hawks took a 2-1 lead over the Knicks following a 105-94 victory in the ATL. Trae Young dropped 21-14, and Derrick Rose continued to amaze with 30 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists. In Boston, the Celtics protected their home court, beating the Nets 125-119. James Harden's 41, 7, and 10 wasn't enough as Jason Tatum dropped the first 50-piece of the playoffs to go with 6 boards and 7 assists. Elsewhere, despite dropping 44, 9, and 9, the Clippers spoiled Luka's home court playoff debut. The silent killer, Kawhi Leonard, continued to put up numbers with 36, 8, and 3, and Luka also suffered what appears to be a nerve issue in his neck. We were blessed with another early game on Saturday, I think it was, as the Bucks stomped on the Heat 120-103 to complete their revenge quest following last season's bubble exit in the second round and sweep the Heat in 4 games. The Bucks were down 7 at the half, but turned on the Jets in the third and never looked back. Bryn Forbes, stepping up for the injured Dante DiVincenzo, had 22, going 7 for 14 from 3. DiVincenzo will miss the remainder of the playoffs with a tendon injury in his foot. The Blazers beat the Nuggets 115-95 to tie the series at 2-2. Having carried the load for so long, Dame had an uncharacteristically quiet night, but the Blazers rallied behind 29 points from Norman Powell and 21 from CJ McCollum to split the series, which heads back to Denver on Tuesday night. Philly continued to dominate Washington with a 132-103 victory and a commanding 3-0 grip on the series. Joel Embiid dropped a playoff career-high 36 points. That should wrap up the series tonight. They play, and there's no way the Wizards are coming back from this one at all. Utah got back on top with a 121-111 victory on the Memphis Grizzlies. It was a battle between Grizzlies of old and new, as Mike Conley dropped 27-6-8 versus Ja Morant's 28-3-7, which included an in-game playoff 360 dunk. Wow. I love Ja Morant. I can't get over how good this kid is. In some other news, Zamalek from Egypt defeated US Monastir from Tunisia 76-63 to win the inaugural Basketball Africa League Championship. Walter Hodge from Zamalek was named the Hakeem Olajuwon BAL Most Valuable Player after leading his team to an undefeated 6-0 record with per-game averages of 15.5, 5.7 and 5 rebounds. On Sunday, the Hawks beat the Knicks 113-96 to take a 3-1 series lead. Gallinari had an efficient 21 points on just 9 shots, and Knicks head coach Tom Thibodeau kept Julius Randle on the court even when the game was beyond reach to try and give his star a chance to find some rhythm ahead of a big game in MSG this Wednesday. Chris Paul appears to have been, injected with Chris Paul's special stuff because he's recovered from his shoulder injury, looking much better as the Suns beat the Lakers 100-92 as he dropped 18 points with 9 assists and 3 steals. A solid team effort saw 6 Suns drop double figures. The Lakers, meanwhile, are holding their breath as AD suffered a groin injury, landing awkwardly on DeAndre Ayton's foot. Reports are suggesting AD is likely out for Game 5, with the series now tied at 2-2 going into Tuesday's game in Phoenix. The Nets held off another Jason Tatum scoring outburst as they outgunned the Celtics 141-126 in a display of offensive synchronicity. Kyrie Irving dropped 39-11 and appeared to rub his foot on the Celtics logo face at the end of the game. This led to another fan incident as Irving had a bottle of water thrown at him. Cole Buckley, 21, was banned for life from TD Gardens and has been arrested and charged with assault and battery by means of a dangerous weapon. Game 5 is on Tuesday night. And finally, the Beyond Help Clippers leveled their series at 2-2 with a 106-81 takedown of the Mavs team that are really struggling to cope with Luka's injury. Luka still dropped 19-6-6, which is out of character, though still pretty impressive. And the 81 points they were held to was the second fewest the Clippers have given up in a postseason game in franchise history. That was a heck of a week to go through. Mike, how many cups of tea did you get through while I was doing that?
I could probably do a whole bucket.
It's been a busy week. There's been so many games going on every night, and there's so much that just needs commenting on. So what was your moment of the week?
My moment of the week. Well, the one that stood out to me last night was the Caruso off the backboard to LeBron. I absolutely loved that play. That was ridiculous. But I think another one was the Ja Morant 360. Like, it just looked like a video game, that play. It was just absolutely insane. What a special player he is.
Well, absolutely. Like, I remember Paul George threw a 360 down in a regular season game, didn't he, a few years back? And people lost their mind there. And now you've got a much smaller guy throwing it down in a playoff game. It's just, that guy's leaping ability is insane. Some of the best photos of him, admittedly, are like on missed dunks, where he gets blocked or whatever, but just how athletic he is, how high he gets, and how far he's taken off from. It's just insane. That guy is just, he's absolutely something else. Yeah. We're gonna jump into a slightly more serious topic, which is obviously the fans have returned to arenas, but we've seen 4 incidents which have been, quite frankly, despicable. We had a listener question along these lines as well, which basically, as I mentioned in around the association, we've had Trae Young being spat on, Westbrook having popcorn thrown at him. We had Ja Morant's parents being subject to verbal abuse. We've had Kyrie have a bottle of water thrown at him. In your opinion, do you think that these incidents, what do you think of these incidents? And as disgusting as they are you worried this could potentially cause a trend for future playoff games? That comes from Richard Fang.
Yeah, it's obviously it's disgusting, and you don't want to see any of this. And I'm, I think that the reaction to it has been the right one. And I think that there's guys, that were on the wrong end of it that, I think that everyone handled it pretty well, all considering. But it's just blowing my mind. Is it just that people haven't been allowed out of the house for a year? So as soon as they get back in, they're just a little bit giddy and going wild and just don't know how to handle themselves. It's pretty scary. And I always think back to the fans have a short memory, because I think back to Detroit and the Malice and the Palace. When a bottle got thrown on the court, and all of a sudden there was players up in the stands just throwing punches. So I'm really happy about the way that the players have handled it. But it's disgusting to see this trend, and I guess because it's the playoffs, everyone is fired up, and the fans first time back in. But we have to be better in this whole thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, maybe it is. You've had over a year now where you've been essentially isolated from society as we know it. Maybe they've forgotten, and I don't want to make excuses for them because it's inexcusable. I think the NBA has done the right thing. I say the NBA, the arenas have done the right thing in banning the fans. I don't like the use of indefinite. That suggests there's a way back, and I'm not really sure that there should be. Maybe you can redeem yourself from throwing popcorn, but spitting on another person, no, not for me. I think the NBA is right to sort of double down though with releasing the statement about enhanced procedures and things like that. I'm weirdly, in the back of my mind, I think around March Madness time, you put a tweet out or something about some of your memories with college fans and things they would shout at you. Like, what's the sort of things you've experienced during your career?
All types. I mean, I remember at school, when I was at school in the States, there would be so many fans behind our bench, especially at the away games, and they would just chirping you all game. I remember some people would Google stuff. They'd be yelling your parents' names, or they try and find out any little thing about you. Fast forward, my first year as a pro in Cyprus, I've been at a gym where a riot has broke out and fans have stormed the court before. They had shields above every single bench to block the fans. And one game, the bench wasn't big enough, so the shield didn't cover all our guys. So there was two guys on the end of the bench, two of the water boys, and the fans were just spitting on their backs the whole game, to the point where I looked over and the guys' shoulders were literally all soaking wet. So I've seen it before. I've seen them flick cigarettes on the court before. So it's nothing that I'm new to, but it's I think in the NBA's case here, what can you do? Like, the arenas have to press the charges, but I think we have to name and shame these people, and I think they've done a little bit of a good job of that too. We've seen a few of the guys' faces and their names, all across social media and stuff, and it's just put them up, name and shame, put them up on a billboard, and make an example out of them.
Yeah, it shouldn't be. There's no place for it in professional sports in any walk of life. If you wouldn't do it in walk of life, why would you do it to someone you're watching in a professional sporting event? And I get that ultimately basketball is an entertainment product, but you wouldn't go to any other form of entertainment and pelt someone with something unless it was like medieval stoning or something ridiculous, which is, I don't know why my mind's just gone there. I've suddenly gone into one different Monty Python films now. We had another question from Richard Fang on the similar thing. The viral video of Kyrie, quote, violating the Celtics logo after the game last night had surfaced on the internet. What are your opinions on this? Obviously, from the clip after the game, he walks up and sort of puts his sneaker on the face of the leprechaun and sort of stamps it out, really. What was your thoughts to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm more of a take the high road kind of guy, so I thought it was a little bit childish. But obviously, Kyrie has a history with Boston. I think he just does not have good memories from being there. I think he had a lot of pressure on him when he was there, and I think I don't know if the fans or whatever. I'm not sure if they have the best relationship with him, but there's been times where I think it was earlier this season when the first time he played back in that arena, and he was burning sage and walking around the arena. So I think Kyrie's a little bit out there to begin with, but something like that. it's a little bit childish, but it plays into the narrative. This is the playoffs, and you know, these guys take it seriously, and you know, there's that passion, that fire, you know, that they're showing, but you know, maybe a little bit too much.
Yeah, I mean, I get why some people are not happy with it. I understand that sort of high road thing. What I love is that we complain as in sport in general, but particularly the NBA, we complain that, you know, the league's soft, the rivalries have gone, everyone's friends now, and here we have an example of someone who is sort of creating, as you said, like a narrative. There is a specific thing he's doing here that's creating more of a rivalry, and I kind of like that because, you know, we talk about historic rivalries, you know, the Bulls Pistons having to go through that sort of period, even like the Jazz and the Rockets in the '90s, the Spurs and the Rockets. I like that we're seeing someone inject I don't think physicality is the right word, because obviously the league's removed it from in game now, but like there's something they're doing that's outside of the game to spike a rivalry. And I would have liked, it makes me want the Celtics to win Game 5 just so he has to go back to Boston again. Like, I think there's a line that can be drawn with, you know, never throw things at them, at players. Never, you know. I don't think some of the things they say are acceptable either. Like, you know, if you had spent, you know, the last two games with someone shouting "F you," whatever, you know, just getting on you constantly, then I wouldn't. You know, there's part of me that would like to give them some kind of sneaky middle finger as I walked off the gym with a victory. But I don't know. I kind of can get on with it. I like the way it sort of creates a punchiness to this series, even though it's all but wrapped up.
Yeah, I think it just adds another level, right? It shows you that, you know, that he's not just showing up to do a job. He's taking this for real. Like, he's, you know, this is something that's gotten under his skin. So he's taking it personal. But just to echo off that, I think Westbrook said it right the other day when he said, you know, I would never come into your job and throw popcorn on you. So I think at the end of the day, the fans have to realize that these guys are going to work, and, you know, you shouldn't have to, you know, you shouldn't have to be subject to any type of physical abuse, you know, at work. And I'm sure it's you know, the booze and like a little bit of light, you know, chanting and all that is fine, but when you start saying slurs or being extremely disrespectful, you cross a line.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Okay, let's move on. The first series that wrapped up is the Bucks Heat, which was a bit of a surprising sweep. Did you have the Bucks coming out of this in anywhere near just 4 games?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think they were going to do a sweep, but I like the Bucks. They just look like a different team this year, and obviously Miami, a little bit more depleted and not the same team that we saw in the bubble. But I didn't expect it to be by this bad. They just absolutely whooped them, and there was no looking back. And for me, for the Bucks, the two guys that I see on the Bucks that they added in Drew Holiday and PJ Tucker just add just another level of grit to this Bucks team. I think, you know, they're already an extremely solid team, but adding those two guys, you know, gives you play at both end, you know, defense at both end. You know, Drew Holiday is probably one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, and then, you know, a guy like PJ Tucker who can literally guard pretty much every single position on the floor. They also spread the floor out and open things up, so it gives, you know, more opportunity for Giannis to do his work down the middle.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big things this year with the Bucks is that last year it was so Giannis centric. Everything went through Giannis, and essentially the Heat were able to game plan to cut the head off the snake. They built that wall. They did a fantastic job of just throwing him out of his rhythm. And the other Bucks players at the time weren't capable of sort of carrying the load. What we've seen in this series is that his points per game have dropped significantly. I think they're down to about 23. But you've got guys like Drew Holiday. I think he had a 37-point game, which is something we would never have seen from Eric Bledsoe. They just seem much more of a team, much more multiple weapons to go at someone. So if you do take Giannis out, that's fine. They can beat you with the other guys, which bodes well for the next sort of series. So there are going to be series where a team can't stop Giannis, and then we're going to see him go back to, MVP sort of level of stats. I mean, the next round could be the Nets, will be the Nets. It's going to be the Nets. Let's face it. The Celtics can't come back from this. He says, touch wood. Now we're going to have a 7-game series and Boston will go through. How excited are you for a Nets Bucks series, and how do you see them sort of matching up?
Oh, that is going to be extremely juicy series. That's probably going to be the best series in the East in that second round. Brooklyn are just what a team. The depth that they have with their three stars there, and nobody's really talking about Kevin Durant. Like, Kevin Durant sat out for an entire season with one of the worst injuries that you could get in basketball, if not the worst injury. And then now he's come back halfway through this season, and he's leading the playoffs in scoring with I think 35 points a game or something like that. And he's it's not like he's a spring chicken either. He's in his, I think he's 32. So he's doing a great job. And I think having James Harden, moving him to the point, was probably the best thing that they could do. I think he had like an 18 assist game last game. Mm-hmm. For Harden, he's going to give you his buckets. He's going to give you, that 20, that 25 points, maybe 30 points a game, but he's creating for so many other guys now. And Kyrie is a much better off-ball guard, coming up, playing at the 2. Obviously you can play the 1, but I think making that switch has been really good. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to match up with each other. Who's going to defend Durant? Are they going to put Durant on Giannis? And I'm super excited for that series.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy because the Bucks, despite the fact they've at least statistically dropped back defensively this season, I don't think they are anywhere near. I think they're better than what their defensive stats suggest. They've been open that they were trying to implement new things and practice in a season without a training camp. So I think they're going to be an excellent defensive team in this series, but I don't think they're going to be as good as the Nets are offensively. And I think if this is a team that can put 140 points up, I don't think the Bucks can hang fire with that. But at the same time, Giannis is just phenomenal. I'm trying to think how they can stop him. But ultimately, if you were to pick, usually the team with the best player in a series wins. And I would say quite easily that out of the top 4 players, only one of them is a Buck. And I think that's ultimately what it's going to come down to. People will obviously jump on the back of that and look at Coach Bud, because people have been baying for Coach Bud's sort of exit from this role for 2 postseasons now. Do you think there should be pressure on him at all if they do lose in this second round? This is a historically great offense they'll be facing.
I mean, the thing with Coach Bud is like he's always done so well throughout the regular season. I think, what was it last season? I think they had a 60 game win or whatever. This year they finished 3rd in the East. They're always extremely solid, but it was always for him in the playoffs. Could he make those adjustments like live, from game to game? And we saw that he was in the past 2 playoffs. He hasn't been able to do that. Now, saying that, he's got a different cast, and I think, I always look over to Drew Holiday because I think he's so good with the ball. I think he's really good at organizing a team, and I think he's a big part of their success this season. But yeah, Bud is, he's been on the chopping block, so I think they got to make something happen here because, Giannis isn't getting any younger, and they need to get some success going there because Giannis is way too good of a player not to have any type of, major playoff success yet.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'm getting some heat in the Twitch chat for someone pointing out that I picked the Heat to win in 7. Yeah, I did. I was that close because I didn't know. I mean, based on what I'd seen last series, where they seemed to have an answer for everything the Heat did, I genuinely expected them to be a lot better than they were now. I was on the fence as to who would win it. That's why I've picked 7 games. and I got it wrong. I don't really care. I've got no problem with that. I thought it'd be a lot closer series than a 4-game sweep. What do you think this means for the Heat? Because obviously the Jimmy Butler timeline and the Bam Adebayo timeline are different. And they've obviously traded away assets for Victor Oladipo, who's now, obviously they haven't had him in the postseason. He's out recovering from another surgery on his quad. How do you see them sort of bearing up in the season to come?
I don't know. It's tough. I mean, I think, that run that they had last year was great, but obviously the team was a little bit different, and they had a few guys that were on the team that were, flying under the radar kind of with Hero and guys like that. So it might be time for a rebuild down there. We'll see. I know Jimmy's contract up at the end of this season?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think when he signed it.
So I don't know. It could be potential rebuild. Like, I think losing Crowder was huge for them as well, and Crowder on the Suns now has been incredible. So it's the Heat made that run in the bubble when no one else could, but I don't see them sticking together anymore much longer.
Okay. Jimmy's contract is $34.3 million this year, $36 million next year, and then a player option in 22-23 for $37.6. Which you got to think at his age, at that point, he's probably going to opt into the 37.6.
Yeah, definitely.
So maybe it's going to be interesting because there have been some sort of undercurrents there about him. Again, he seems to have this sort of fractious relationship with a team. He had it in Chicago. He had it. My watch is talking to me. Excellent. He had it in Chicago. He had it in Minnesota, obviously, famously. Even in Philly, there was the talk of, in Brett Brown's video sessions, he sort of spoke out openly there. There's sort of rumblings that it's happening now. It's always going to happen once a team loses. There's going to put a magnifying glass over Jimmy Butler and say, is he the reason? He obviously didn't have the best series ever. What do you sort of make of him this postseason? Any particular reason you think he couldn't do what he did in the bubble?
Yeah, it's funny because me and Jimmy actually have the same agent. So my agent's name is from Toronto. His name is Bernie Lee. So I get some little bits of insights on Jimmy, and Bernie says Jimmy is a different dude, but he's super passionate, and I think in the media, kind of maybe he's portrayed as the bad guy in some situations, but I think at the end of the day, he's passionate. He wants to win, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to win. But it is becoming a little bit of a theme with him now, where we're seeing, he takes jabs at the front office or at the coaching staff. So it's tough. You don't want to. You don't want to alienate yourself in certain situations, especially when you're losing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he didn't step up throughout the playoffs. We typically would see much bigger performance out of him. He only averaged about 14 points a game, and we need a guy like that to be up in the 20, 25 points a game range. So I think at the end of the day with the Heat, they just didn't have enough firepower to match what the Bucks have, from the 1 to the 5 in the starting lineups.
So your agent's the same agent. This is just taking a different turn. So did you see the tweet when Shams reported there was sort of not dissension, but there was an issue between Jimmy and the front office, because there was a tweet from an agent which was expletive laden about how Shams didn't know what he was talking about. So I'm putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with. I'm going to have to look it up now, but because I didn't know the agent's name, but I'm going to have to look it up and see whether that's your agent tweeting that out, which would be epic. I'm
going to look it up right now.
Look it up right now. But yeah, I'm trying to remember when it was. But basically, an agent, and I'm assuming Jimmy only has one. I know that sometimes they work in pairs within the same agency.
Yeah. So yeah, no, it wasn't my agent, because he's not on Twitter.
Oh, there you go. Excellent.
Yeah.
that was.
But it could have been somebody. It could have been somebody most likely involved or in the same circle.
Fair enough. Awesome. Let's quickly touch on the Clippers and the Mavs. What's your take on this very strange series so far, where no team has won a home game?
Yeah, it's been It's been a great one to watch. I mean, my favorite thing in it is watching Luka and his whole energy throughout this whole series. The him and the Pat Bev matchup has been great. You know, just seeing them jaw at each other every night, and just the fire and the passion. You know, Luka has some monster performances. You know, 44 points. He's averaging 38 points or somewhere around there for the series. But we saw last game this issue with his neck strain um, play into it a little bit, and I see him on the sidelines. He looks like he's super frustrated. Um, will be interesting to see how that plays into it moving forward.
Yeah, it speaks to their lack of depth. That even 19 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds isn't a bad outing. It's maybe not what you'd expect from Luka, but it should be enough to get the team into a position where they could win. So then to only put up 81 points is pretty poor, and sort of, again, just lack of talent around him. And that's not meant to be disrespectful, because I appreciate Kristaps Porzingis is great when healthy. Tim Hardaway Jr. has been fantastic. Dorian Finney-Smith, I really like him as a player. They just, for some reason, they're not what they're never going to be better than what they are now. Really, they are a first-round team, maybe a second-round team. I'd like to see more talent around them. I'm sure that Luka is the kind of marquee player that can bring more talent in free agency around him. The Clippers seem to get so much, I'm going to swear, but so much shit, quite frankly, anytime that they sort of lose a couple of games. Do you think that's fair? That quietly here, Kawhi is putting up almost as good a numbers as Luka, and yet no one talks about him.
Yeah, he's the silent killer, the guy who's just kind of always just flies around under the radar. But I think this is the Kawhi that we are used to seeing in the playoffs. You know, he's kind of showing up more so than he did in the bubble. Kawhi is the type of guy who can put the team on his back. You know, we've seen him do it on multiple times with multiple different teams. With the Clippers, I mean, in this series, like you said, I think it's the depth thing comes into play. You know, if you look down the line, the Clippers just, you've got Kawhi, Paul George, you've got Nicholas Batum, Reggie Jackson. There's just, the list goes on. Marcus Morris, sorry, Serge, Rajon Rondo. Like there's a lot of depth, and there's a lot of experience and a lot of playoff experience in there. So it's an interesting series though, because literally like Luka is just kind of putting the Mavs on his back right now, and I don't know if he's going to be able to do that, because we can already see, neck injuries and other things cropping up like that. Will he be able to do that throughout a whole 7-game series?
Yeah, fingers crossed he recovers quickly enough for Game 5, because it'll be disappointing not to get peak Luka. Like if the Mavericks lose, I want it to be because Luka's left everything on the floor, not because they're injured. Let's move on to, because we're running long on time already. But Kirk, do you want to play Nothing But Nick for us?
Nothing but Nick's silly nonsense.
Okay, so 17 years after Friends last aired, the Friends reunion has been hugely popular. I think this came out on the 27th, on last Thursday. I've not seen it yet. But the question is, if you were able to document a similar style reunion from the world of basketball for basketball fans, what would it be and why?
What? So, what, a certain team or a certain playoff or what?
Whatever you want. Any sort of, like for me, I mean, I would like to see a non-Jordan Bulls like Last Dance rebuttal. So all the people who got, and I'm a massive Jordan stan, but like Horace Grant got crapped on in that documentary. I'd like to see him, with BJ Armstrong, Scottie Pippen, sat around talking about their experience of going through those initial 3 championships, and then bring in the Steve Kerrs and the Judd Bushlers and everyone like that for the second series. I also think the Warriors team that went 73-9 and then lost to the 3-1 Cavs comeback Game 7. I would like to see them do a similar reunion as well, just to hear what they had on it all.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I always go back to my Raptors, because I'm obviously born and raised Raptors guy. I go back to 2001, the playoffs, where we were in the conference semifinal against the 76ers, Allen Iverson. And Vince Carter he'd been finishing up his school while he was with the Raptors and flew down to the graduation and flew back up. I think it was for game 7 or game 6, I believe. And then we ended up losing that game on a 3-point shot that he missed. So if I could go back and just get Vince to not go down to the graduation and maybe just focus on the playoffs at the time, that would be my my little reunion moment.
What? I can't believe it. So do you actually feel that if he hadn't gone, that shot goes in?
I feel like we would have pulled out that series. I feel like there's too much going on, too much extra stuff. I think you need to be locked in on your job. You shouldn't be flying out and taking flights the day of the game. You know, he showed up at the gym about 3 hours before the game, getting off an airplane.
And then was it the next season he forced his way out in a
Well,
trade?
yeah. Then the Toronto media turned on him, and then all of a sudden he was just the bad guy, and he just kept saying he was injured and not playing games, and it was all downhill from there.
No,
so if we had
we
made the conference final, potentially maybe going to the finals, it could have been a completely different story.
Yeah, that's a great shout, actually. Okay, let's move on to Discourse on Discord. Come join our Discord community, discord.me/doubleclutch. There's been the playoff chat is obviously flying around at the minute. Lots of chat about the fan incidents today. I was busy all day, but I could see it flying through, and I went back and read through it all. There was a really sort of well-balanced and polite debate from both Nets fans and Celtics fans, who obviously have a difference in opinion on the incidents that went down. Not about the bottle throwing, that was unanimously hell no, that shouldn't happen, but about the sort of the Kyrie putting his foot on the face of a. Well, it's a picture. It's a bit of floor. I still don't see what the big deal is. But we have a home court channel as well, which is lots of people talking about their returns to the court following COVID. We've got lots of niggling injuries. And last time you spoke about prehab, some of the ones we've seen have been like giant blister balls under the arches of feet because the socks being worn were not good enough, quite frankly. There was a public opinion taken. They were terrible, terrible socks that Ross wore. We had some, generally some of us in there like me are older. So when we go back and play, we are hurting for days afterwards. Kirk went back last week. He's still in pain now. The best one was from a young guy in there. This made me laugh. He strained his neck. This is Theo Theory. Strained his neck looking at the rim. How? So have you got any advice on avoiding injury, returning to play?
I think the biggest thing is just to don't overdo it. All right, like this, just get back out there and ease yourself back into it. Okay, there's no, it's not, you're not going to build a Rome in one day here. So ease yourself back in. Make sure you get a good stretch and a good warm up before, so that you're all loose and ready to go. And I don't know. I don't know my advice. I can't tell you not to look at the rim. I don't know how he pulled off that injury, but that sounds like a weird one.
To be fair, I haven't checked. I'm assuming he was looking up at the rim, and it wasn't just some kind of feat of athletic explosion, and he looked down at the ring and cricked his neck or something. But it is mad. I've got to admit, you talk about easing yourself in. I went back and played for the first time a week ago Thursday, and the coach, the guy running the session, who I do know, made in the warm-ups made us do like 2-footed squat leaps like across the court, and I was just like, man, I can't do this. I've not done anything in over a year, and now you want me to do this? Like, I was absolutely blowing before we'd even started scrimmaging. It was absolutely mad. So yeah, I'll go with your advice and ease yourself back in gently.
Exactly.
We've had a few listener questions in. We've had one from Rich Barrett. Last Tuesday night, a phenomenal tweet from UK Sixers that he'd had his pre-game nap and was ready for the game, only to discover he was 24 hours early. What have you been ridiculously early or late for in the past, basketball or non-basketball related?
I mean, I've been late to a few practices over my time. Not many, but a couple. I remember back in university and college, I overslept one day, and I was running from my dorm to the gym, and I just remember the pure panic and fear, because if you were late to anything, it was you were doing 17s or suicides till the cows came home. So you never wanted to be that guy who walked into the gym after everybody's already out there on the court, doing drills or running through sets. So um, that's probably that's probably being late in college, and I remember just running through campus with the fear of God running through my veins.
Did you ever have like a coach who would punish the rest of the team for your mistake?
Well, yeah, that was it.
cut
It wasn't
deeper.
just me. It was like the whole team would get on the line. So then, you'd have an angry coaching staff, but then you'd also have, 12 other or 10 other guys on the team just looking at you like, you piece of,
Yeah.
So
I remember a guy turning up we had an away game at uni, and he got lost on the drive there. Don't know why he didn't come in the team bus, and he turned up at half time, and it was just an absolute shambles. Basketball related, I can't think of anything. Non-basketball related, I've been ridiculously late. It took me 14 years to propose to my fiance, so she's going to love the shout out there. Matt Hardy, UK Nets fans. My local newsagent has two magazines about tractors, as well as multiple fishing, cycling, and true crime magazines. Why is Slam magazine not available everywhere? Is print dead, or is there an audience for a physical basketball magazine? Now, you've been in the UK for at least 13 seasons now, coming up for 13 seasons. Obviously, I don't think there's the same problem in Canada getting hold of a basketball magazine.
No. And it's funny because obviously we're on the road a lot, so we stop in a lot of the motorway services, and every time you go in there, there's like a WHS Smith or whatever they're called, and they have a huge rack. I've never seen so many magazines. Like, they always have so many magazines here. So obviously print isn't dead, but it does boggle my mind how there is no basketball magazines over here. I remember when Slam magazine first came out. I think it was 1994 or 93, and I actually have the first 5 issues
Nice.
at my folks' place back in Canada, because I was, that was right when I was first getting into basketball, and the magazine had just come out, and it was like the coolest thing ever. Obviously, this is before social media and everything, so this is kind of like one of your major news sources for basketball back then, And I just remember waiting every month. I couldn't wait to go in there and get a new magazine and check out the new stories and see the latest sneakers, the latest gear. It was culture building. I think Slam magazine, that in the 90s, was just one of those things that every basketball kid had. We were all about it. Now, saying that, we're in a completely different time now. I can't remember the last time I bought a magazine. And I follow all the Slam social channels. I'm on Slam's Instagram all the time, checking it out that way. So it's a tough one. I think, the print industry on the whole is probably taken a big hit over the last 10, 15 years. But there's something about, getting that fresh magazine and cracking it open for the first time and flipping the pages. There's something to be said to that. Call me old school, maybe. I don't know.
Not at all. I think the first Slam one I got, it might have been the 10th installment. It was the one with Scottie Pippen on the front, sort of just like with his arms folded at a slight angle.
Okay.
And I just remember just like, oh, this is just amazing. There was a British one briefly called XXL, and there was a weekly newspaper called Slam Dunk or something like that, which covered sort of the NBA and European basketball. But I don't think XXL made it much past 1998. I remember having all of them. Slam, I would go to WH Smith in my local town multiple times a week waiting for the new issue to come out, because I didn't trust how often they got them in or anything like that. And you'd get like 2 copies, and you just literally have to just snatch it as soon as it arrived, because there'd be at least 3 other guys who liked basketball in a town of only 70,000. There was still like an appetite for it. And I kept reading Slam till November last year when my subscription ran out, and I didn't realize it was running out, and they didn't remind me, and it just sort of lapsed. And I was like, oh, okay, that's it, done. I could renew it, but I just haven't bought one since. And like you say, I follow it on the socials. It was a fantastic magazine.
It's just like everything. I mean, people used to buy newspapers every day or at least a couple times a week. And now it's just, you wake up in the morning and you check Twitter or check whatever your news source is, and everything's in the palm of your hand.
So instant. Yeah, they really had to change the way they operated as a magazine. I, like you, just open it up for the first time, go thumbing through all the pages. Then I used to take the Slam up out, and my teenage room had posters everywhere, on the ceilings. It was just
I had the double page fold out one right in the middle.
And I always had to debate what side to put on. Who's going up this week? Month rather. Those are the good old days. We've had quite a few questions in, but I'm conscious we're running long on time, so I might have to park them for next week. We did have another one from Richard Fang, going back to the Heat and the Bucks. What do you think the Bucks' chances are in future playoff series? Do you think they might squeeze past the Nets, or is it this their last?
I think it's going to be a great series. Do I think that they're going to be in the NBA Finals? No, I think Brooklyn's going to be there. I think Brooklyn just have too many pieces. And the biggest piece being Kevin Durant. The guy is absolutely unstoppable. And even if he has an off night, you've got a cast of other guys that will step up on that Brooklyn team. But that is my series to watch in the second round. I think that could definitely go to a 7-game series.
Yeah, I think it's definitely one to watch. I agree with you. I don't see them getting past this one at all, though. I think this is the end of the line, which is a shame. I think that sort of does it for tonight then. So thanks to everyone who has watched tonight on YouTube and Twitch. Shout out to the people who joined Discord this week. We had a few drop in there. Fezza springs to mind. If you're not already, please make sure you're following us at Double Clutch UK, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. If you can search at Double Clutch UK, it's probably going to land on us. Come join the Discord, discord.me/doubleclutch, twitch.tv/Double Clutch UK. Thanks to Mike for joining us. People can find you at MikeTuck15. Obviously, you've got the 3-on-3 training camp this week, so best of luck with that. You've probably got an early start tomorrow. Do you got any idea what the sort of the week's plan is going to be? Is it just?
Yeah, it's there'll be 12 guys there, and then we're doing 2 sessions a day, 2-hour sessions a day. So it's gonna be pretty intense. I'm assuming most of it will just we'll be going over the tactics and the different stuff, and then they'll be trying out different lineups. So they'll be flipping us on different teams and see who works well with each other and who doesn't, and then maybe installing a few plays. So I'm super excited about the whole process. Obviously, Julius Joseph has just been named the coach, and I battled against him for years in the BBL, and he's a British basketball legend, and obviously started out the I think ball out 3-on-3. So he's got quite a bit of experience in all this. So I'm looking forward to seeing him and talking to him and learning from him and just seeing how this whole process goes.
Awesome. Best of luck with that. We look forward to seeing you in Birmingham in 2022. Actually,
Fingers crossed.
Anyone, fingers crossed. I got the press release through the other day. So if anyone out there listening wants to be involved in Birmingham 2022, they're looking for 13,000 volunteers to be sort of, I guess, like the 2012 Olympic Games makers, to help everything run. So if you want to help Team England, it's weird seeing England after Team GB for all these years. But if you want to help them out, go and check out their websites. You can find it. I don't know off the top of my head. Mike, best of luck with the training camp. I'm sure we'll speak to you soon. And we'll catch everyone else next week.
What's the weather like out there? It's hot. Damn hot. Real hot. Hotter than this is my shorts. I can cook things in it. Little crotch pot cooking. Well, can you tell me what?